flexible, connected and agile public officials. I hope my slide is visible, colleagues.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Thank you. Right, colleagues, as we start, flexible, connected and agile public officials. I hope my slide is visible, colleagues. Connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we start,
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. Thank you. Connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is visible. Flexible, connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we start, connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. Thank you. Connected and agile public officials. As we start, I hope my slide is visible. As we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is visible. Flexible, connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. Thank you. Connected and agile public officials. As we start, I hope my slide is visible. As we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is visible. As we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
Flexible. I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile public officials. As we start, I hope my slide is visible. Right, colleagues, as we connected and agile public officials.
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide
Yes, it is. You can go ahead.
flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. As we connected and agile public officials. As we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. As we connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my slide is agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is colleagues, as we connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is flexible. I hope my connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. Right, colleagues, as we start, I hope my slide is right, colleagues, as we connected and agile. I hope my slide is flexible. So we have to look on the various items that can assist us. So one of them be it the pull of the future. So we need to understand what is pulling us into the future. We do know as it is now that there are dominant images of the future, which include, so we have to look on the various items that can about it all the time. So one of them about the big data, the pool of the future. So we have to look on the various, especially these are the systems that you know that we do know one of them that there are dominant images. So we need to understand what is. So we have to look on the various. We do know about it all, and also one of them about what the pool of. So we have to look on the various items that can assist. So one of them be the dominant image. So we need to understand what is going on in the various. We do know what is and also the dominant image. What is so we have to look on the various items that can assist. And also one of them be the dominant image. So we need to understand what is items that can assist. We do know one of them be the dominant image. So we need to understand what is so we have to look on the various items that can assist. And also one of them be what are the dominant image. So we have to look on the various items that can assist. And also we do know one of them be the knowledge, the skills. They are very critical as well. And currently, sometimes you'll find that we don't have the right skills and the right skills that are able to take us to the future. But also, these are what we inherited from the past, and these are some of the things then that we need to look into. But then, if you look on these the three dimensions that I've discussed, so they give us three fundamental concepts, that we need to look into, which is the hindsight into the past and the weight of the history. Also, the insight in terms of our present day trends, as well as the foresight and the future. The foresight, which is about the future, and the pool of the future, which are the images that we see that the future should look like this. So, colleagues, the reason why I put this here is that most of the time as government, you find that we are reactionary in nature in terms of the decision making, in terms of the policy writing. And if we look onto that we are mostly reactionary, you find that sometimes we put a policy direction, and by the time we start the implementation of it, say in 3 years' time, we start with the implementation, you find that things have already shifted and they've changed because we never looked on what the future should look like and do what we call a long-range planning, whereby we look at least on the next 5 to 10 years. So it's one of the areas, colleagues, that I want us to really focus on. And then in terms of the technology, colleagues, we know that the technology can enable us in terms of the service delivery. We know currently that there is an emergence of the new technologies, which are fueled by the 4IR, which include the smartphones. We know that most of the people now, they are using the smartphones. We've got social media platforms, we've got big data, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, robotics, as well as machine learning. And these technologies, colleagues, they are the technologies that can assist us in government in terms of making better ways of citizen engagement. Because as it is now, as much as, when you look on the social media platforms, sometimes there is quite a lot of fake news as well. That is where then you need to factor what is the right information, how then you respond to that type of information. So that information can be useful in us in terms of addressing our societal needs. Colleagues, as I move along, I need to introduce the concept of the digital government. So if we're to look on the fundamental of the digital government, we look onto this as the use of the digital technology as the integrated part of government's modernization strategies, which then we use these to create public value, which relies on the digital government ecosystems, which that ecosystem will comprise of the processes, the businesses, non-profit organizations, citizens, and then all these they come together, they produce and access data and services as well as content. So if then we look on the picture that I've got here on the screen, you will see that we've got the data as on the core of everything that we do. And if you look onto the core, the data is the core, then if we use the data, we'll be able to understand what our citizens want. We should be able to look onto the integrated service delivery. And also we should be able to see how then do we look onto the digital government strategy. But if you look on these colleagues as well, you'll ensure that making use of the data-driven decisions we'll be able to pass, evidence-based policy. And also we'll be ensuring that we can have greater transparency and accountability of within government, as well as creating the greater public trust. So some of the initiatives, colleagues, that will assist us in this is what we call the municipal broadband. I have looked onto the presentation that was done by the previous speaker. I need to understand what broadband initiatives are part of those services, of those critical projects that we will be looking into these metro spaces and these district spaces. So if we were to look on the municipal broadband, so some of the things that the municipal broadband is going to assist us in doing, we'll be able to support, our corporate IT environment. So we'll be able to support the digital government, which I just spoke about. We'll be able to support the digital economy. We have to understand, colleagues, that as we move ahead, there are economies that are going to be fueled by the digital infrastructure and, the digital spaces. So also we need to look onto the digital inclusion, which means that now when we look on the digital inclusion, we look on both the officials, which need to be connected, but also as the citizens, which need to be connected. And some of the initiatives that we are looking into in terms of the municipal broadband, we look into the municipal Wi-Fi hotspots, whereby the municipality will be able to offer the hotspot services to its citizens. And also we're looking onto making sure that we can have community-owned networks. And if you look on these, colleagues, we know that we should be able to increase the efficiencies in government. And also we'll be able to provision the service, the e-services to the citizens. But also one point that I need to just stress, colleagues, that we need to think about is if we shouldn't categorize broadband as a public good, because we know that now in everything that we do need some broadband connectivity. We know that the broadband has assisted us in terms of, having the education while we are facing the pandemic. So we need then to look into, as part of the municipalities, as part of our service delivery in government, to see if the broadband, we can look on it now as a public good to ensure that every citizen does have broadband connectivity. As I move on, colleagues, we are looking on to the agility, which is one of the areas that I was asked to talk about, especially the agility in terms of the public officials. So if we were to look on the properties of agility, so the agility, we need to be able to be adaptable, to adjust and change in terms of the changing requirements, to have innovation, to be able to collaborate, to have visibility, and also velocity, which is the ability to recognize and respond with the requisite tempo to the new circumstances and events. As we are now looking on to the district development model, so we need to see if now we do have the agile workforce and also the agile officials that are able to assist us on this. But also now what we have seen is that one of the critical areas that we have to look into is the digital skills in terms of to enable the agile officials, public officials especially. So we know that skills development is one of the critical building blocks when we consider the government as part of the efforts in terms of the digital transformation. And if we're to look now that we are looking on these technologies and also, the new ways of doing things, then we need to understand then is the workforce digitally skilled enough to understand and to be able to operate in these environments? And also we need to look onto if we are becoming more and more reactive. So it's one of the areas that will be found wanting. So that is why now we need to look onto the fast changing environment, and then also try to encourage and ensure that our officials, they are agile and they are enabled by the digital skills. So some of the skills that we did look onto that are required by the officials, we have looked onto the digital user skills, which means that you need to have the workforce that is able to use the current technologies, which now we are using for productivity, which is your normal collaboration tools, your email, these platforms that we're working on. But also we need now to look onto the complementary skills, which now look onto how then, if now we digitize the services, how then are we going to have, the skills to be able to operate on these new platforms. And also we need to look onto, in terms of the leadership, digital management and leadership skills, as well as the digital professional skills. The professional skills will look into the core IT skills that we need onto our officials. But the other skills, they are needed by everybody that is in the public sector to ensure that we can have the agile officials. Colleagues, I think I'm left with only 2 or 3 slides to finish. But one of the things that we did look into as well is the digital culture as the catalyst for agile officials. So we need to ensure that as government that we promote the digital culture across all sectors in society, as well as the spheres in government, to support the development of the mindset in government. Also, we need to look onto how we reinforce the data culture. The reason why we did put on this one in terms of the data culture is that sometimes we sit in the offices and we plan what the society want, and we are not using, the data that is available to assist us in terms of the decision making. And also in terms of the development of the delivery culture across the public sector. So in the digital age, we know that the citizens now, they get some services from the private sector. And also some of these services, they are provided on the digital-based providers. So now we need, as the government and also in all spheres of government, to be able to ensure that we can match on these services as well, to ensure that the delivery of public services needs to have some level of agility as well. Colleagues, I need to, as I'm closing, I think I need to introduce just one more concept, which is what we call the digital society. So the digital society is, it looks onto the modern society that adopts and integrates ICT at home, work, education, and recreation. So if we look now on our societies, we shouldn't leave our society. Colleagues, I need to, as I ensure that we transform our society to digital societies. But then if we've got a society as a digital society, then that society can only get services from the digital government. So then we need to look onto how we then digitize the government to provide government digitalization. And then the third layer onto that, we look onto the flexible, connected, and agile public officials, which is enabled by the critical skills that the public officials need to have. And if you combine all these 3 aspects, colleagues, you will be having like very happy citizens, as you have seen on the picture here, that you won't be having all these service delivery challenges that we currently have. As I close, so as the CDT, I just want to mention some of the initiatives that we are currently looking on in terms of the work that I've just highlighted here. So we do have the National E-Government Strategy, which we are currently expediting the implementation. What the National E-Government Strategy does, it's looking on the public-facing services that we can digitize. We know that we don't want people to be queuing in some of our offices, both in the municipalities and in the local governments, as well as all the areas where we provide services. So the National E-Government Strategy, we are expediting the implementation of it, and we are looking on launching it before the end of the financial year, which will be in March. And we will be working also with the municipalities, because when we started this program, we did look only on the provincial and the national governments. But now we are looking into going down to the municipal level to ensure that we can look onto the critical public-facing services that we can digitize, so that the citizens can be able to transact with all spheres of government electronically. So we are looking on the digital and future skills strategy, which we approved last year in cabinet, and we are implementing that one. So looking on all aspects from the foundation space to all the officials. And also we do have a program, which is the SA Connect, which is looking on connecting all public institutions. And the other one that I can't not miss is the cost to communicate, where we are looking on zero rating some of the key public services to ensure that whenever we want to transact, the citizens want to transact, they can do that at the ease of their home, and that those services will be zero rated. And the last one, colleagues, that I want to mention is what we call the District Digital Enablement, which is the program that we are starting this year, this financial year, to enable the DDM, whereby we are looking on some programs that we can create in terms of the ICT, in terms of the municipalities, especially the districts, which will ensure that we can have also, the agile officials as well as the digital government. I'm going to end there, colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mlindi, for the presentation. Yes, it's very interesting to hear what is happening in your space. I like the digital culture, data culture, and delivery culture. We still have a long way to go, but I believe if we work together, we'll be able to achieve some of our deliverables. I just want to indicate that please keep posting your questions on the chat line. There's a team that will run through the questions soon after the minister's keynote address. At this juncture, colleagues, I would like to invite Honorable Minister Ayanda Dlodlo, the Minister for the Public Service and Administration, to give us a keynote address. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and thank you so much for the warm welcome back home. May I also begin by extending my greetings to the Directors General and heads of departments who are in the platform, the CPSI leadership, led by the Program Director, and our distinguished international guests, a very South African sanbonani to you. To the senior managers and public officials from the three spheres of government, our private sector partners, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. An organization that can bring pertinent modern knowledge to bear upon the challenges of the days enjoys huge advantages over a government that still uses yesterday's solutions to fix today's problems. We have little to no choice but to strive towards a public sector that inspires, incubates, and adopts innovation, because if we do not, the consequences can be dire for any government and its people. It is a private sector organization. If the private sector organization fails to keep up with innovation, its products become dull and undesirable, and this leads to a drop in sales, decreased profitability, and eventually bankruptcy or business closure. They only survive if they innovate or diversify or employ the use of technologies. On the other hand, if a public sector organization such as government, a government department, or a state-owned entity fails to keep up with innovation, basic service delivery to the people breaks down. Frustrated and desperate, the people come out to the streets to revolt against an ineffective government. Violent protests could result in the loss of life and property. In the case of an SOE, clients or users take their business elsewhere. I must apologize for the dystopian way that I begin this morning, but I speak this way to introduce to you the mother of innovation, and her name is necessity. As newly appointed minister in this portfolio, but not so new because I've been here as a deputy minister and a minister before, and I was responsible for the CPSI for a very long time. I am aware of how much of a necessity innovation is to the very critical work of government. However, I am also fully cognizant of the slow pace of adoption of an innovative technology by departments. That is why platforms such as the Public Sector Innovation Conference become an indispensable part of efforts to engender a culture of innovation and promote the adoption of innovative technologies in the public sector. Technology and innovation are not the future. They are the now. They exist today and will improve tomorrow and well into the future. The Center for Public Service Innovation has always been hosting this public sector event, not as a nice to have, but as a necessity, as a way to highlight the need for innovation to improve service delivery and to improve the lives of the most vulnerable in society. Yes, this is a time to celebrate, time to look back at how we have come, but it is also a moment for honest reflection. It is a moment to take stock, to marshal our forces and redouble our energies towards finding the necessary solutions to improve the way we deliver services to all our citizens. When we gather as we do today, it is not only for the niceties, nor for platitudes. It is not so we can give flowery speeches, like I'm probably doing, laced with high-sounding phrases that do nothing to improve the lives of citizens who have to wait for medical attention for up to 6 hours and more while the hospital looks for the patient's file. Private sector organizations are much more willing and able to be early adopters of innovative solutions, but the stakes are profits and losses. But on the other hand, we in the public sector, where the stakes are quite literally a matter of life and death, are very slow to adopt new technologies. That is completely unacceptable, and we must do everything possible to make sure that every public sector organization properly and adequately utilizes the necessary innovative technologies that are available to it. To those who want to stand in the way of innovation in the public sector, sithi sukani endleleni nitetele abanye. I am happy to see that this conference has grown in stature, both here and beyond our borders. This shows that there is a silent majority who are working hard to inculcate a culture of innovation in our public sector. And conferences such as these are premium platforms for robust dialogues, the sharing and exchange of valuable lessons and experiences on how we can leverage innovation to drive change in government and by necessity to improve the lives of our citizens. We are therefore also appreciative of our international speakers and participants joining us today and tomorrow. Our public needs to learn from the international best practices, and our international guests can assist, but also learn from us greatly in keeping pace with international trends to serve our citizens much more efficiently, and they too in service to their citizens. Whilst doing that, we also need to look to pockets of excellence in the field of technology and innovation that exist throughout the public sector. It is necessary and of necessity for our public sector to rid itself of rigid bureaucratic shackles and siloism if we are to make any meaningful inroads against the many challenges afflicting our beautiful country. A public sector that is responsive to change and more complex expectations and demands of our citizenry is necessary. Moreover, if appropriately leveraged, we know that innovation is a proven enabler or missing piece of the puzzle for a public sector that delivers a better life for me, for you, and everyone else. Therefore, we must urgently demand a public sector that is adaptive, agile, and innovative enough to meet the ever-evolving set of challenges of modern statehood. And therein lies the true value of this conference. If there is anything to take away from what I have to say today, then it is these two words: necessity and urgency. An innovative public sector that is able to deploy new technologies to deliver improved public services to more of our people is both necessary and urgent. Let this conference stimulate the kind of dialogue and ideas that can mobilize us to urgently leverage the innovation as a key catalyst for a transformed public sector that is efficient, reliable, ethical, and corruption-free, professional, and empowered to deliver on our developmental agenda for our people. In Brazil, they are today mining data from police cases in order to understand better the scourge of gender-based violence and femicide. Data mining is being used there to inform public policy development and to deploy more efficient prevention mechanisms that are innovative and are able to detect and prevent instances of gender-based violence and femicide. This kind of innovation is what we should adopt, which could greatly assist us here in South Africa, where the levels of GBVF are now at crisis proportions. We need innovative ideas such as these, which have practical, real-world application. Distinguished guests and fellow attendees, we should bear in mind that other than being part of the CPSI's mandate to promote innovation in the public sector, this conference is also an important contributor towards building an effective development-oriented public sector and an empowered and inclusive citizenry as envisaged in the National Development Plan. The theme for the 2021 Public Sector Innovation Conference is leveraging innovation to enhance the district development model. Right from the onset, our government entered into a social compact with its citizens to deal with inequality, poverty, and unemployment that have historically been the defining feature of our country. These interdependent socio-economic phenomena, rightly labeled the triple challenges, cut across many areas in the lives of our people. They form the apex of our developmental agenda, which we must aggressively tackle as a developmental state. In its response, the government has put measures in place to ensure equal access to services by all citizens across the length and breadth of our country. The current pandemic has made this task even more difficult, putting strain on the already constrained fiscus, including the achievement of our developmental agenda. However, we should find opportunities in crisis and think more strategically and act with urgency and compassion. COVID-19, as disruptive and as undesired as it is, has presented an opportunity that we cannot afford not to leverage on. It has made it more necessary and has put even more urgency for us to innovate, particularly in a world where technology tools have become the center of our social interaction and business processes. With the need to continue seamless delivery while maintaining distance, it means we must innovate delivery models. And herein lies the opportunity presented by necessity called COVID, an opportunity that is not to be squandered. Owing to this new normal, my apologies, could I just ask my PA to bring me some water? I can't be talking for so long without water.
Okay, Minister.
Yes. Owing to this new normal, it is now time to think about virtual-based services, automated and remote delivery. And as you would know, across the world, we have battled with this new normal, where it found us not fully prepared for the challenges that we currently face in terms of remote delivery and automated services. There is no longer a luxury for the future, but it is the reality and necessity of today. Not only will this optimize how we function as government and interact with citizens, but it will also reduce transaction costs and increase the efficiency which we deliver basic services at the local level. As we have learned from previous speakers, one of these key objectives of the district development model is to enhance intergovernmental coordination. Thank you. It is also to foster practical intergovernmental relation mechanisms to plan, to budget, and implement jointly in order to maximize impact and align plans and resources. It also seeks to promote the creation of viable opportunities for co-designing of innovative solutions at the district level, proximity between government and citizens. So much. Therefore, the conference theme demands that we collectively explore innovative ideas on how we can contribute to the successful implementation of the district development model to enhance service delivery. Is there something wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. Nape, please check. There's an echo.
Therefore, the conference theme demands that we collectively explore innovative ideas on how we can contribute to the successful implementation of the district development model so as to enhance service delivery and to improve the lives of our people. I hope and trust that this conference will drive a sense of urgency in all of us to adopt and implement innovative solutions in the public sector. We dare not fail. For our country to emerge and rise above its formidable challenges, we require shared determination and a shared vision. So we must all put shoulder to wheel and push forward towards a better life for you, for me, and for future generations. For the public sector, the goal is to find ways of maximizing the impact of innovation to ensure sustained service delivery across the country's length and breadth, and renew the confidence in government's ability to improve the lives of South Africans as we emerge out of this pandemic. Again, we dare not fail. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. Thank you to the CPSI for bringing us together, and a very special thank you to all of you for attending, and a special thanks to Mr. Rabutata and Mr. Musholoho, who delivered the informative presentations before me. Please remember that COVID is still with us. Sanitize your hands, wear your masks, maintain social distance, and always stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that powerful keynote address, carrying good messages for us as attendees here. We really thank you, Minister, that you made time to be with us today. We appreciate it fully as the CPS team, and I think the delegates will agree with me. Minister, I know you have a very busy schedule. Would like you to stay on and listen to other presentations, but if Minister has to dash to other meetings, we do understand. Today is a very important day for the public service with the court case going on, and you probably want to focus on what is coming out there, but we really appreciate it. And we hope that very soon, Minister will meet with you as the CPSI team to tell you more about what happened since you left a couple of years ago. Yes, but thank you so much, Minister. At this stage, I will then ask KG Khatliso, please come through for the evaluation of the two presentations, the DDM by Ndate Rabutata and the other one by Mlindi. Be assured, presenters, we're not going to show the results of the evaluation. It will be anonymous. Over to you, Khatliso.
Thank you very much, Oslidia. Before I launch the evaluation of the DDM presentation, I'd like to say to the delegates, I've noticed that most of the delegates joined after we've done the poll. All the questions that we have already done, they are still open on the chats column, and we'll really appreciate those who joined in late. If you can just scroll up on your chats column and respond to the questions, we'll leave them open up until the end. I will then launch the next question. Basically, how it works is that you will see, I'm going to launch now, I've just launched, it will pop on your screen. And let's start with the ones I'm going to do right now first, and then you can do the ones we've done earlier a bit later. We'll leave them open up until the end. If there's nothing popping up on your screen now, the question will also be available on the chats column. So on this one, we are just going to ask you to please rate the contents of Mr. Rabotata's presentation. That was the presentation on DDM for integrated service delivery. Unfortunately, unlike the other ones that we did for demographics, as the program director mentioned, we will not show you the results. So I'll request you to please rate the presentation excellent, good, fair, or poor. And then please always remember to press the submit button. Please make your selection. And for those that have attended the CPSI conference before, kindly take note that unlike before where you could change your response now and again, once you've made your selection here, that is your final selection. Thank you very much. I'll move to the next question. We're now going to look at rate the presentation by Mr. Mlindi. Please rate the contents of Mr. Mlindi's presentation. Excellent, good, fair, or poor. Please make your selection and press submit. Thank you very much, Oslidia. Over to you again.
Thank you, KG. Thanks for that. Colleagues, now we're going into discussion and Q&A. I think we should start with questions that are on the chat line. I'm going to ask the CPSI team. I think it's Lindani, Desri. I'm not sure who's the third person. Go through the chat line, ask those questions. Please, when you do indicate that the question is for a specific speaker. Thank you. I will hand over to Lindani and your team to fill those questions. Before we let maybe we can take 4 at the beginning, and then we can take the next 4. Maybe Lindani start.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, colleagues. I'll read the 4 questions that have been asked this morning. The first question is from Zonyane Zolani Sandiso from GIZ, who was asking whether the one plan, he asked the question about the 3 pilot site, but then he responded that he has been answered, but he just needed to know whether are these documents accessible to the public. This is the question to Mr. Rabotata. Then the second question also to Mr. Rabotata was from Arhof Elisma, who was asking, does the model investigate the impact of work from home and the rotation of staff model? Does the model investigate the impact of work from home and the rotation of staff model? So again, this question is still to Mr. Rabotata.
Thanks, Lindani. 2 more questions. Desiree, what do you have there?
Good morning. One question from Precious Isaacs. To Mr. Rabotata still, how does the DDM differ from the IDP? And the other one from Mbangi, asking, assuming that the model was brought about by the end of the need for seamless planning, we should also be looking at the other tools that were created to achieve the same, such as IDPs stated above and IGR, as well as NSDF, among others, in terms of why those have had limitations.
Thank you, colleagues. We have the first round of questions, 4 of them. I will hand over to Ntate Rabotata to respond to that. But before you come in, I just want to share something on a lighter note. Years back, I think it was in the early 2000s, when I joined the DPSA, we attended a course organized by the UNDP. And something that struck me from that course is that there's always there's non-alignment between us as public servants in terms of what we see as service delivery and what the citizens see as service delivery. An example that was used during those times was that if you, for instance, you have an electrification of a township or a human settlement, as public servants, once you've done the infrastructure, you've dug the trenches and pulled out the fiber or the cable and so forth, when we report, we will say we are delivering services. But for the citizen, until I can switch on a kettle in my house or, switch on lights, that's how they see service delivery. So I just wanted to raise that, because when we talk about local government, those are some of the issues that one has to deal with. The ministers referred to issues around protests and so forth, because as government will be saying, yes, we are delivering. We've done we've just put in the cable now, but until I can switch on the lights in my house, it's not seen as service delivery. So it shows that sometimes the way we plan is actually not talking to the way people see what service delivery is. But I will hand over to Ntate Rabotata to respond to those 4 questions. I hope you got all of them. Thank you. And Ntate Rabotata, please come through. You can switch on your camera to respond and switch on your mic. Ntate Rabotata. Hello. Can I ask one of my colleagues to call him, check, maybe he's struggling with connection. Unless if my colleagues, you want to take up some of the questions while we wait for Ntate Rabotata to come back to us. Are there any more questions, colleagues? While we wait for Ntate Rabotata, I'm not sure what's happening to his connection. Lindani?
Yes, there are more questions. I think maybe Rabotata has stepped out for a minute or so, but we will keep on reminding him or encourage him to respond maybe through the chats also. We will check on him later. The other questions which were referring to Umlindi Soluku, the first question again was from Zolane Sandiso. What does the department DCD team doing? What is the department DCDC doing to improve or invest in digital infrastructure or connectivity? That was the first question. The second question was from Bolton Sander on the issue of big data with the Presidential Health Compact. What are the timelines? What are the timelines for that? And another question then also came from Zolane Sandiso Zolani around digital government and the Presidential Health Compact. How are we going to ensure that municipalities such as Mkanduli would be connected and receive be digitalized? Thank you.
Thank you. Mlindi, over to you.
Thanks, Program Director. I think let me deal with the first question of Usandi. So the one of what
attendees to presenters.
You are muted, sir.
If
you are muted.
Out,
oh, sorry. The technology. I'm supposed to be the guru of technology, but
we understand. We do understand.
No, I think if I can take the first question of Usandi. So what we are doing as a department to ensure in terms of improving the digital infrastructure. I think there are a couple of things that we are doing as a department. Firstly, from the department side, in terms of our interventions, we do have state entities that normally provide broadband connectivity, which currently is the Broadband Infraco as well as Centec, and in some instances is USASA. So what we are currently doing, we are currently now merging BBI and Centec to form what we call a state digital infrastructure company. And by doing that, we are wanting those entities to also focus on the universal access, whereby they will go on the areas as well where, you know, the private sector is not really going to. So that is one of the interventions that we are doing. And also, I think to leverage on that, there is a program that is called SA Connect that we started a couple of years ago, where we wanted to connect the public institutions, which include like your schools, your clinics, you know, municipal offices, libraries, and all that. The program, we started it with the phase 1, I think it was in 2017, if I remember quite well. But now we are busy trying to get the funding for the phase 2, which we are looking to target like 44,000 public places that we want to connect. But also it talks to that question of, you know, the areas like Mkanduli. So those are the areas that will also benefit from this program. But also remember, these things, we can't do them alone. So we are looking onto the private sector as well for them investing into these areas. And also the release of the spectrum, which we anticipate the high demand spectrum, if we can sort out the court cases. But the minister is also trying to work into resolving the court issue that was there in terms of the release of the spectrum, to ensure that this spectrum can be used to access, you know, a broadband connectivity as well, and broadband rollout. And also in terms of what we call a broadcast digital migration, which is moving from the analog TVs systems to digital. There is a spectrum that is going to be availed in there, which is on the 700 and 800 megahertz, which is very critical, especially for the rural broadband connectivity. So that program, as you know, that the president announced that we should be done a full analog switchover by March next year. So we are fast tracking that program to ensure that we can have that spectrum released, so that we can enable, you know, all the operators, as well as both the commercial operators as well as the smaller operators can get the spectrum. But also, I think, colleagues, one of the areas that I wanted to add is we are looking on a model of community-owned networks as well, whereby we can have a community, you know, building the community network. And I am looking on those areas as well, in the area where I come from, because I can tell you now where I come from in the Eastern Cape, I still have got very minimal connectivity, but we are looking, enabling some of, you know, the young guys that are in there to start, you know, this community-owned network initiative. And so those are some of the initiatives that we are trying to do in terms of, you know, the connectivity from the department. But I think I did miss the other one for the health and all that. If you can repeat that one for me,
You're muted again.
Okay. No, I was saying that I think that there was the other question, but I think I might have missed that one. Yeah.
Okay. Lindani, please recap the other question.
The other question, which was on this, was in terms of your presentation, there were issues around big data and the issue of health, presidential health compact. So Balton Salda was asking what are the timelines, and then the last one, which was from Zonyane Sandiso again, was which was again around the issue of digital government, to asking how are we going to ensure that municipalities in Mkanduli would also be connected and be digitalized, are not left out. Thank you.
Thanks, Lindani. Okay, that one of Umkandula, I think I did cover it on the points that I mentioned before. But the one for of the big data, yes, colleagues, the big data, we are looking on all the methods that we can use to connect the big data, the data. And also, I think one of the things that we are doing as well as a country is, as well as a department, is having the policy in terms of the cloud and data, whereby we are looking on saying that how then do we leverage on the data that is generated in the country to ensure that we can make informed decisions. But that policy, we did publish the first draft, that was in May, and we gazetted it, and we are now incorporating some of, the comments that we get from the sector and from everybody that operates in the space, and we should have the final policy gazetted again towards the end of the year. I'm going to end there, Chair. Thanks.
Sorry, there is one last question from Mbangi, who says, I'm not sure if this is relevant, but should we not be explicitly looking at the sectors that are by design cross-sectoral, multi-layered in terms of governance and management, such as water in general, which has become very dependent on the digital environment?
No, definitely we need to look into that. So that is why if you were to look onto one of the initiatives that we are studying as a department, there is what we call district digital enablement, whereby we are looking on the municipalities to see which areas that need, especially the digital infrastructure and the digital services, we can look into, and then ensure that we can work with the municipalities and put all the interventions that we need. Because if you look on all the sectors now, whether you look on the municipal distribution, you look on water, you need like now smart systems that will be able to monitor these. And these are all the ICT systems that we need to have in there. So yes, we will be looking on that. And as we are looking onto this district digital enablement on our side, then we'll be able to interact with the municipalities and understand all the services, that are cross-cutting, especially that have got a need of the ICT. So that is what we are looking at the moment. Thanks.
Thank you, Mlindi, for the responses. Colleagues, I have to apologize. We have to go back to the 4 questions that were addressed to Dr. Rabotata. Lindani, I think you had 2, Mabatu had 2. Maybe let's take the first 2, let him respond, and then we can go to the next 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Program Director. The first question directed to you, Mr. Rabotata, was from Zonyane Zulani Sandiso, who was asking, after asking about the 3 pilot sites, he said it was whether the information on this pilot site and documents are accessible to the public. Are they accessible to the public in terms of the 3 pilot site, the 1 plan? And then the second question around your presentation also was from Harfo Elisma, who was asking, does this model investigate the impact of work from home or rotation of staff model? Thank you.
Potata, you can come through.
Yeah, thank you very much, Program Director, and let me appreciate the reflections and the contributions made by colleagues. Yes, the 1 plans from the pilot sites, once finalized, adopted, they will be available to the public. This pilot site, this 1 plans would be deposited in our website, and they will then be accessible. The second question related to whether the model will investigate the impact of working from home. One of the critical focal transformation focal areas of the DDM, its economic positioning, and in that economic positioning chapter, there would have been deliberations about the impact of COVID-19 in the various district and metro sites. I would imagine that during those deliberations, this question would have been pondered into, and the various one plans would express themselves in relation to the impact, the overall impact of COVID-19 and the new way of doing things in that particular district or metro or town or city or village. How does the one plan differ from the IDP? The IDP is a 5-year strategic plan of a municipality. The one plan, it's an intergovernmental plan that is jointly developed by the 3 spheres of government and adopted by the 3 spheres of government. But of course, there is a clear relationship between the IDP and the one plan. As I indicated in our earlier input, the one plan is informed by existing planning instruments such as IDPs, spatial development frameworks, medium-term strategic frameworks, 5-year strategic plans of departments, and the annual performance plans. And in turn, the one plan informs the implementation of the IDPs and the strategic plans of departments and the annual performance plans. Let me practicalize that by saying the following. Once the one plan has been finalized, it will have the implementation commitments that are contained in that one plan will be implemented by municipalities through their integrated development plans. So what they will do is simply to take from that one plan commitments that they have made and plan and budget and implement those commitments. Similarly, national, provincial and national departments will plan, budget, and start implementing the commitments that would have been articulated in this long-term strategic framework that we refer to as the one plan. Then there was also an issue about the NSDF, and as I indicated, on the one hand, the one plans are informed, the development of the one plans are informed by existing planning instruments, which planning instruments include the National Spatial Development Framework. So if you are in OR Tambo and you are constructing the one plan, the first thing that you're going to ask is, what does the National Spatial Development Framework says about OR Tambo? What is it that the National Spatial Development Framework proposes that should happen in OR Tambo? So they inform, these planning frameworks inform the construction of this one plans. The last point, if I heard you correctly, Program Director, was about the delivery of services by municipalities, and this has to relate to the issue of access, that government make statements about access to water, access to electricity, access to this and that. But the real issue is whether when you switch on the lights go on. When you turn on the tap, the water comes out. So it's an issue about what municipalities plan for.
Colleagues, please mute your mics. Please mute your mic. Nape, please. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Chair, I was saying that indeed the delivery processes in municipalities must be designed such that water comes out of the tap. When people switch on electricity, the lights must go on. So it's about the reliability and the dependability of the services that municipalities must provide. And within the context of the district development model, these are the kind of problems that it seeks to address, that services are indeed delivered to communities in a reliable and dependable manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mlindi, for that final comment. I just want to say to you, I come from Hammaskral. You don't want to know what I saw in Hammaskral in terms of the water quality. The water is coming out of the tap, but you can't use that for even to wash dishes. I was shocked to my system when I went. I come from Hammaskral. My hometown is Temba. I was shocked. Like a week ago, when I opened the tap, just shocking. I just want to leave it there. But you've articulated it very, very well that, you know, the way you see, the municipality can say, we are delivering water. People have access to water, but the quality of the service is also under scrutiny. Thank you for that. Are there any further questions for Dr. Rabothata? I think there were 2 additional questions before we go on to the other questions. Desiree?
He has actually covered all of them.
All of them. Okay.
There is a new one from Zolani. Maybe he can ask. The mics are open now. He can ask it verbally.
Okay. Just before we move to verbal, I wanted to check if we've exhausted all the questions on the chat line before we move to verbal.
Okay. There's one that says, are the plans linked to Agenda 2063 apart from Vision 2050?
Okay. Zolis, I've noted your hand. Keep it up. Maybe that Rabothata respond to the last question from Desiree about the linkage to the Agenda 2063, the AU Agenda 2063.
Yeah, thank you very much, Program Director. So, yeah, the answer that I'm going to provide is similar to the one that I provided in respect of the National Spatial Development Framework. So when these intergovernmental structures that we spoke about that are responsible for the development of the one plans deliberate, the first thing that they ask is what are the international commitments that we should respond to in the one plan? What are the continental commitments that we should respond to in the one plan? What are the national commitments, and so on and so forth? So those deliberations take place in this DDM intergovernmental committees that are meant to facilitate these intergovernmental conversations to resolve the problems of the world in that particular region, problems of the continent in that particular region, and the problems as you would have been, and challenges as would have been reflected in the National Development Plan in that region. So it's about localizing some of the interventions that would have been articulated in the global strategies, continental strategies, and national strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rabothata, for responding. Delegates, you are more than welcome to raise your hands if you want to engage the 2 speakers further. If you have more questions, just keep your hands up. Zolisa, I don't know if you have a follow-up question. I saw your hand was up, then you dropped it off, dropped it down. You can come through.
Thank you very much. Good morning to everyone. I just want to know if in this DDM program, schools, which is the Department of Basic Education, if it is involved. Because I so believe that we cannot leave behind the future leaders. So they must be part of what is going on in their area. So how do you integrate with the schools in the district development plan? So they must be part of what is going on in their area.
Thank you, Graham. You can come through with your question.
In the district development plan.
Comment. It's Graham Paulson from the Western Cape. I'm the head of department for local government in the province. So we have have conceptualized what we call the JDMA, the Joint District and Metro Approach, is something similar. Conceptualized that in 2018, November of 2018. And it's fundamentally premised on collaboration, vertical and horizontal collaboration amongst the provincial departments and various stakeholders, but also vertical collaboration between the spheres of government and other stakeholders. So we have what we call the JDMA teams in the various districts and in the metro, and that is functional since 2019, and we've made significant progress. Our approach is fundamentally premised on collaboration. And how do we collaborate? Firstly, to resolve problems and blockages in relation to various development initiatives and planning initiatives, but also service delivery and so on. But also, how do we plan for the future in relation to various projects and programs? But fundamentally, it's about collaboration, getting the spheres of government and officials of government and business just together in a room and begin to talk about the challenges in relation to each district and the metro. And as I say, we've made a significant progress. We have written to the National DG and we've said, this is our approach. And what we have submitted is the implementation plans, a version of the JDMA, but it has been converted into the one plans. I've also written to the National DG and say there can't be two plans. And I know there has been a question around the IDP vis-a-vis the one plan. And in our view, and we are now migrating what we call the one plan or the implementation plan to the district IDP. Because in our view, and the MEC in the province and the provincial cabinet has resolved that there can't be two plans. So we can't have the one plan on the one side and also the IDP. And if the IDP process is correctly managed and all the stakeholders collaborate in relation to compilation of the IDP, particularly the district IDP, it's our view that the IDP, the integrated IDP, well, the district IDP should actually replace the one plan for district. So, but we have made significant progress. It is operational in all 5 districts, also the metro. And we have a number of national departments that are participating in the districts like rural development, the South African Police, water and sanitation. We also have now constitutional development that came on board, Justice Department, and they are participating in the structures. Just one comment. I think the fundamental challenge for this to be functional and effective is your functional IGR structures. So if you don't have IGR structures that are functional, like the DCF and the DCF text between your districts and your locals, and your IGR meetings between the province and the districts and the locals, if you don't have that functional, then I think it's a huge challenge for the successful implementation of this district approach. We have invested a lot of time and effort in this, and in the province it's functional. That's why we could have seen since 2018 significant progress and achievements in relation to the approach that we've adopted in the province. Thank you very much, Program Director.
Thank you, Graham, for sharing that with us. Yes, you really highlighted that you need a functional IGR structures for these things to work, because we are so used to working in silos. I don't know. There's just something about us as public service and silos, or public sector and silos. And I think your sharing of these experiences will then help us, moving forward, to know that you have to collaborate. There's no way that one department can, for instance, basic education can decide to build a school without talking to water and sanitation, to roads and transport, and so forth. We need to collaborate more. That Mataiwa Busieka, over to you.
Director, thank you so much for this important dialogue. Thank you for the presenters, very informative and cutting edge ideas. And I think I like what Minister said, that it's not just about sweet sounding or sound bites that are sharp and comforting, but it's about service delivery, what value is added. And I think this kind of gathering seemed to speak to those. Program Director, I think my input was ignited by one of the speakers who said they have international commitments, continental commitments that they have to deliver on. I needed to find out because they say you think local, sorry, you think global, but act local. So while you're acting local, you need to always have at the back of your mind what are the global dynamics, best practices, what are the new the new ideas that are coming through, innovations and all that. And there are so many and plenty. So with that mind, one would want to find out, are we trying to borrow anything from what's going on even around Africa? For instance, Rwanda using some drones to supply medication. You have Egypt having some merit-proof recruitment programs, and Kenyan side looking at how to to allow public service seamless service delivery without having to run around. Our equivalent of the equivalent that we have the one shop center here. So in other words, are we collaborating in that area? And Chair, I think I like what you say, that silo mentality. Obviously, silo can't really cannot it cannot allow innovation to grow and be spread, because innovation is around about collaboration. So I just want to know if there are any of those collaborative outreach that imports this kind of best practices. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mataiwa. Back to speakers, please take the questions and respond. I just have the last two from my side, but I'll wait for you to respond to I think from Graham, it was just sharing, it's just a comment. Zoliswa and Mataiwa are specific questions. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Program Director. Once again, let me appreciate the inputs that are made. I think I just want to start by making an overriding comment about the DDM and its one plan vis-a-vis the municipal integrated development plans. So the first thing to acknowledge is that the one plan, it's a long-term 20 to 25-year plan, which set out a long-term strategic framework for a district space, not a district municipality, nor a metropolitan municipality, district or metropolitan space. And it forces all the stakeholders involved in the construction of that one plan to reimagine what that district space or metropolitan space would look like in 20 to 25 years. Whereas an IDP is a 5-year program of counsel that is meant to deliver on a set of strategies and projects. And in the context of the DDM, as I indicated earlier, the IDP will then be designed to implement the programs that are contained in this long-term strategic framework we refer to as the One Plan. The second point that I also want to make is that indeed there are critical success factors for the implementation of the district development model. One of which, of course, is functional IGR structures. That's why they have been identified as critical platforms to facilitate, firstly, the development of the One Plans, and secondly, the implementation of this One Plans. And they are designed such that all the critical stakeholders that must be involved in the One Plans converge in one place, in one space. So here you are talking about local government, you're talking about provincial government, you're talking about national government, you're talking about civil society, you're also talking about the private sector. That plays a role in that particular space to have a conversation, which conversation will then yield a common understanding of what are the challenges that confront that district or metro space. And in view of those challenges, what is it that needs to be done and who must be responsible for what? So functional IGR structures are indeed critical. Now, the last point was about global commitments, continental commitments, and national commitments finding expression in this intergovernmental plan that we're talking about. Of course, the implementation of the identified strategies and programs would require innovative ideas, and it is in those conversations, in those platforms, that these ideas must be engaged with and see whether these innovative ideas must be engaged with and to test their applicability and their implementation practicalities. So, Chair, let me pause there. But thank the colleagues for raising these important questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tata and Tumlindi. I don't want to waste more time. I think that our last speaker, Professor Penglu, has just joined us. I want to swiftly move to Dr. Vukela. I've noted your hand up. If you can bear with me that we accommodate the presentation by Mr. Penglu, because it also has pressures in terms of time, and then we can go back to answer some of the questions. Unless if you want to capture it in the chat box, but if not, we will go back to your question. Please, Lindani and Desiree, note Dr. Vukela's hand. Prof, over to you. You can begin with your presentation. And thank you once more for making time to come and share with us what China is busy with. Thank you. Over to you. Prof, just unmute yourself.
Yeah. Just unmuted. I'd like to share my PPT first. Just a minute. It should be here. Okay.
We can see it, yes.
Okay. That's it? Can you see it?
Yes, but on presentation mode, please.
Yeah, but it will move. Can you see it? Can you see the PPT is moving? Can you see it?
We can see your presentation, but you just need to put it on presentation mode.
Okay, something wrong with this. Just a moment. I check another one. I have to use Microsoft. I'm using a Chinese soft, so it does not work here. So I'm changing to Microsoft. Just a minute.
Okay, Prof. Katleho, we've noted your hand.
Yeah. Just find where it is. Should be here. Okay, using Microsoft. Okay. Oh. Point.
Prof, maybe not to waste time, you can go ahead. I hope we'll be able to see your slides.
Just a minute.
Okay.
Because I have this to, where can I put it? I'm not quite familiar with Microsoft anymore, so. Okay. Can I see it now? See my PPT?
Yes, we can see your presentation. It's just that it's not on presentation mode, but Prof can go ahead.
Yeah, can you see it now?
We can see it, Prof. We can see it.
I see it.
What we'll do is that
now?
we will share it.
Is it okay now? Can you share my PPT is moving? Can you see it now?
No, it's not moving. It's still on the, what you call it, the main slide, the first slide.
Okay, I see it in this way, okay? I just put it in this way.
Okay.
Okay, is this okay now? Just this way. Is this way okay?
Prof, may I request that Nape from CPSA team takes control of the slides so that he can try to put it on presentation mode, and then he'll give you the control back. Nape, please assist.
No, I don't think the reason is this software is not comparable to the Microsoft system.
Is it?
So, yeah. Can you see it now? Just put it in this way. Is this okay?
We can see your presentation.
Yeah.
Prof,
okay.
I think you can go ahead. We can share the presentation with the delegates later on. You can proceed.
Okay. Anyway, it's very glad to be here to share some very recent events in the Chinese, we call it anti-epidemic battle for COVID-19. Especially, I'm going to introduce how digital technology is playing its formidable role in this battle. The reason to share this is because we know that this coronavirus epidemic, even in China, is a major public health emergency and a big test for the country's government system and the governance capacities. And the technology it support is very important, as the Chinese President Xi said. So what can technology solve? I think there are three problems that technology can be helpful. The first is on the front stage to provide effective treatment of infected people. The second is in the middle stage to control the spread of the coronavirus outbreak. And the last is on the backstage to restore normal economic activities and social life. But before give you a big picture, I would like to go to some details, some empirical scenarios that I would say impressed me the most in the past 1.5 years. The first one, of course, is about the health code. I don't know whether you have an idea of what health code is. The health code in China is actually a QR code on people's mobile phones that rates the user's risk of catching the coronavirus. There are three colors, like the traffic code, the traffic light. The green code granted unrestricted movement. A yellow code required 7 days of quarantine, and a red code meant 14 days of quarantine. So this is partly similar to Google and Apple's tracking app, but the difference, of course, technologically speaking, is very much fundamentally different. But the biggest difference is that the health code in China is compulsorily enforced as a precondition for entering anywhere. That means if you want to go to any place, you have to show the security, the janitor, the health code. Okay, if it is green, you can get in. If it's yellow and red, you are not allowed to get in. Okay, so the health code right now is basically a necessity for any Chinese if you want to go out. And how quick the health code is invented and spread, I would like to say it's a very swift responsiveness and institution learning. From an experimental local tool to a national approved platform, it took only 7 days, from February 10 to February 16, and then many other Chinese provinces started to use it. Okay. And how could this health code running? It is because the use of it is based on the GIS data, or we call the Geographic Information System. And I don't know whether you can show my. I can show. If in this way you can see. You can see it. Okay. If from this map you can see that the GIS data can show the people. Can show the people where is the most dangerous places according to the mobility trajectory of the people. But I want to tell you that the GIS data is, of course, controlled and surveillanced by the government, but it is not only can be used by the government, it can also be used by the public. These pictures I show you, if you can see from.
Can I interrupt you for a minute? Sorry to interrupt you.
You cannot see my PPT, right?
Yeah. Yes. Let me ask Pierre, my colleague, to come and try and assist.
Yeah, because I want to show you these pictures, but in this way I cannot show the pictures.
Okay. Let me ask Pierre to come in. Pierre, please assist.
Okay. In this way. Okay.
Good afternoon, Prof. I think you're just sharing the wrong window. So I think if you can close the browser window, and then we'll be able to confirm that you've got the right window open. We're just seeing a different window on the screen.
Yeah, I know it, but it happens always because of the two system is not comparable, and so it happened before. So the only way I can show my pictures is in this way. You can see the picture right now, right?
We see the presentation, but we do not see when you navigate. So it seems that
I'm not using the navigate mode. Yeah, because if I use the navigate mode, you can see nothing.
Yes. Can we then ask that you click then on the next slides as you continue? Because we just see the front one. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The way that you cannot see my picture, that's a unfortunate thing because these pictures are very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
On which number slide is your picture?
Number 7.
If you can click on number 7, if you go to slide number 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, we still see the first slide. I think you've got two versions.
You are still seeing the first slide?
Yes.
Unbelievable. I don't know what's the reason of it.
I think we are seeing a different window that is open. Perhaps if you can close the one browser. We see an open.
Can you see my PPT now?
Now we see your face. We see the PPT again. Yes, now we can see you scrolling. Yes.
Okay.
And we see.
This is the only way I can show my picture now. Okay, I have too many pictures, but this is the only way. Okay.
Perfect. You can continue. Thank you very much, Prof.
Okay. Okay. Okay, let's go back some slides back. This is health code. You can see it, 3 colors. This is how the health code is spread in 7 days. This is the G system. Okay, you can see not only the government can use this G system to monitor the people, but people can also go to the government website to check where is people go. So they can see the different places. All the data are open. The red dot in the middle, if you can see, is Wuhan, and it shows that where people go, and you will know that which city is more dangerous than the others. So you would not avoid to go to these places. And this is a national map. This is a national map. You can see all the red dots to showing the possibility of the people to be infected in this city. Okay, and all these pictures I show you is public. It's publicized, so any people who are interested can just check it.
All right.
And not only the GIS data, but also others. There is also a system we would call the live stream system in China that can show you what the government is doing during the coronavirus. I would call it as a cloud overseers, all eyes on, but it is not only the eyes of the government on the people, but also the people's eyes on the government. I'll give you just a case from the January 27 to May 21st. The Chinese government announced to build 2 new makeshift hospitals, but many people did not trust the government. They think the government is just lying and try to make them not panic. So government make an online live stream system, 7 days. You cannot see these pictures. Okay, this one. You just go to the website of the state media's app, and you can see what the construction sites look like. Over 100 million Chinese were online a day, so you can even zoom in the camera to see how these how the trucks and the bulldozers look like, and people really love it. So they make many posters like transformers to nickname those bulldozers and trucks. So by using this kind of cloud overseeing system, the government built a trust system between the people and the ordinary, between the people and the government. Okay, let me show you more pictures. But how can this open? How can this work? Because of the 5G facilities. The whole construction site is surrounded by 5G facilities so that we can have over 100 million Chinese on the day, and this whole system did not collapse. And what about the digital life? For the digital life, we have the logistic and the delivery system. There are 3 points. The first is that before the coronavirus, China already has a mutual online shopping market. But after this coronavirus outbreak, all these delivery companies announces a special policy called as contactless delivery service. I don't know whether you can see these pictures here. If you can see it, and these 2 pictures show what is a contactless delivery service look like. Look like these people in the blue uniform and the yellow one. They are the delivery men. They could not go to the plaza as usual, and all the people who ordered the lunch boxes could only get down to pick up their lunch boxes by a special agency, so that the delivery man and the working people do not have direct contact. But after this whole system, how could this whole system working? Is we have an emergency supply chain management platform by the government, So that is why the Time magazine of the United States put the Chinese delivery man on the cover, and with a very interesting title saying, "When the world stops, who is still running the world?" That's the delivery man. Okay. So, and the last one is the info and the knowledge center. All these digital technology actually reflect a basic fact that the Chinese government and the companies has tons of data, and by using this data to help this economy and society still running, and it is also reflected on the apps. Every major Chinese app has added dedicated hubs for the coronavirus. They've all smoothly integrated tons of different tools to help people get through the crisis, including statistics. You can check your exposure. You can find in medicine. You can do business on the app, and even you can find the tools for quarantine. So this is how the app, the hub look like. This is Baidu. It's a Chinese version of Google. If you go to the app of, you log on the Baidu, you can see their, what's the problem? You can see the profile of yourself, and you can read the news of their, you can find the map, go to there to check the rumors, to find where is people infected nearby. And if you are a fan of the idol, you can see whether you're a celebrity, you love the celebrity, is diagnosed. Anything you want to do, you can do on a one single app. And not only Baidu, but others. And you may say this is not a big deal, but if we check with other mainstream apps like Google, Facebook, and Twitter, they do not have such a sophisticated hub. So these are the scenarios. So I want to see, after this scenario, what is the big picture? The big picture in China is that what we would call it as the fifth modernization, which is announced by the government in 2019. If you know about the history of China, you might know that in 1978, the Chinese government proposed the four modernization, that is the modernization of industry, agriculture, defense, and technology. But in 2019, the government thinks that we need to add one more, that is the modernization of the state, or the modernization of the state system and capacity for governance. So why? Why the capacity for governance is becoming even more important? Because we are now entering into the so-called ABC times. The A stands for AI, B, big data, C, cloud computing. And in this ABC time, people are more and more interested and sensitive to their digital technologies. And China actually has become the first country in the world to use artificial intelligence, data, algorithms, and computing power to fight public health incidents on a large scale. And so what is their basic features of the intellectual governance? There are two features. The first is the so-called transparent society. Now, put it simply, we are now in the, or in some other terminology, we are all in the surveillance capitalism. Any people in their world is transparent, because all these data collectors, all these information centers are watching us all the time. And the government is also becoming more and more smart. This is called as an intelligent government. You can see this picture is from Gartner. This is a world-leading technology consulting company. It publishes a hype circle for emerging technologies every year, and this is one of 2020. And you can see that more and more technologies will be coming into practice in the next 5 to 10 years, and they will be used by the government. So this is a worldwide background. And what about China? So when we talk about the digitalization, many people do not actually have a very clear understanding of what is digitalization at all. So put it simply, I would like to say digitalization actually have 3 stages or 3 versions. The first stage, I would call it as informalization. Basically in China, it has happened before 1995. The informalization, the typical application scenario is a single user desktop application. Like if we put all the hot paper materials into our computer, desktop computer, and we can run it by our computer. This is informalization. And the second stage in China is from 1995 to 2015. We've called it as a networking. That means all the machines, the computers are networked, and the apps are networked, and all the data are most of the data are generated by users. We call it the UGC, user-generated contacts, the big data. And the e-government system is started to build. We are entering the time of the mobile, the portable machines and the mobiles. And now we are now in the third stage. We call it the intellectualization. That's digitalization version 3. What's the biggest difference between the networking and intellectualization is that data-driven and smart policy making. That means the data is not only networked, the data can run by itself. Okay, I'll give you some examples. The first one is China's online government system. This is the system right now has been running for 1 year, and the users is already, and it's updated. The number is already 1,000 million users every day. And if you can understand Chinese, you can see that basically anything you want to do with the government, you can do on this system. And this is the English version, but of course the English version is much lower than the Chinese version because the government only provide limited functions, but still most of the things you want to do with the Chinese government, if you are foreign in China, you can do on this website, like visas, businesses, diplomatics, anything you want, investment, and not only for the central government, also for the local government. This is Shanghai government website. It's basically a copycat of the central government system, and yeah, the first one is about, you can see this too. The one on the bottom, on the right, on the left hand is about personals. If you are individual, you want to do anything with the government, you're checking this, and the one next to it on the right hand is for companies, and it also has an English version for foreigners, for residents in Hong Kong, Macau, and foreign companies, and not only for citizens but also for peasants. This is a big screen I took from the Chinese village in Zhejiang. This is a digital village. They call it as a one map for digital rural. This is not only a screen to show the basic information of this village, but a running system. It's a fully visible twin village of this full twin village, a visible twin village image of this village. And if you are a government officials, actually you do not need to go to this village. You can get all the information you want to know, and most of the data actually are collected automatically. And for citizens, not only we have their website, but we have the mobile app. So the government is calling that we have one app for everything you want to do with the government. The government also provide the iPhone and Android systems. So you just download the app, and you do not need to go to the physical government officials' office. You can do most of the things just by using your fingers. And for government officials, the way they work is also revolutionary changed. We have provided the internal cooperative platform. The difference between this collaborative platform and the earlier version is that it is moving from version 1 with online government to the version 3 with data operation as a core. So the version 1 is that to move offline affairs to websites and mobile phones and collect the internet and the government affairs at the physical level. But now we have the version 2 is with data operation as a core through system opening and the data collaboration. The whole government process is re-engineered. And the version 3 is to integrate many functions as government address book, working platform, intelligent conference, mobile office, and to change the traditional working way of the government officials. And also for parents, we also have an app. For any village, if you registered on the We Country system, if you are a villager, you just go to their app. You can see all the things happened in your village, like the profile, the announcement, national news, the village friends, tool by searching party state. If you are the head of the village, you just run this village by one single app. So with this big picture, what to do with the government for the next, it shows that the increasing importance of the platform governance. Oh, I'm running out of the time. Let's go quick. So the platform governance is becoming a more and more challenge issues for the governments all around the world. But many people do not understand what is the platform governance is. There are actually 3 layers of platform governance: the self-governance, external governance, and co-governance. Self-governance basically is a narrow sense of self-regulation of the platform governance. It basically means upgrading of technology or products, establishment of more open and transparent corporate governance structure, the improvement of algorithm, formulation of platform agreements, and so on. And
yes, Mr.
Okay. I'm sorry? Okay.
You can go ahead, Prof. Nape, please.
Okay. So this is a world challenge. Like in the Facebook, the Zuckerberg was asked in the briefing in the United States Congress. Congresswoman is said, like, Mr. Zuckerberg, your user agreement sucks. And his response is that it does. I never read those all things. I think most of us never read this user agreement either. But by using this user agreement, all these big companies are controlling our life. So we need to make these companies to change. And also, I'm giving you an example in the Chinese system. You cannot see it. This is called deepfake. Delete. The deepfake is a technology that you can swap your face with others. But in China, we also have this kind of app who use the deepfake to let the users to change their faces. But after people are using this app, they find that this app's user agreement gave the app the global rights to use any image or video created on the platform for free. So the public is found it's very scary, and they posted on the website to say they want to boycott this deepfake app. So after a public crying, this complaint clarified that the app would not store any user's facial information, and under pressure, the company also declared that once a user installs this app or delays their account, the app would remove related information, blah, 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 blah. And I think you also have similar events in Africa. And I want to highlight is that if the public do not know that their rights is violated by these companies, they would never have the chance to have this kind of boycotting campaign. So that highlights the importance of external government. The government has to get in. So the external government basically means the government of the platform by the state. And due to numerous public scandals, large-scale data disclosure, monopoly of platform industry, increasing public attention to polarization, false information like fake news, and algorithm colonization, the supervision of these platform companies has become the focus of many critical studies. And the technology companies should be subject to local constraints and be supervised by transnational and domestic institutions. And this is picture shows how this is what is the legislation system is working in globally to pass different kinds of laws. And you can also see that, okay, let's delete this one. You can also see that the increasingly strict regulation on digital platform companies has become a trend in all the world's leading economies. Like in the European Union, we have the GDPR. In the United States, have the Cloud Act, blah, blah, blah. And for China, what about China? Okay, China has promulgated a series of regulations in the market fields of price mechanism, payment mechanism, consumer rights protection, reasonable taxation, fair competition. But for quite a long time, the Chinese policy is that we have very restricted regulation on economic activities, but has a reasonable, relatively flexible policy on civical issues. So that's why, compared with the EU's controversial and harsh governments, the Chinese state was tolerant when it comes to issues related to public policies, like privacy, the ethics. And you can see from this quote, the Zuckerberg actually is very, very generous about this, because for business, they want to have more flexible policies. However, this situation is also changed in China. 2019 is a turning year in China of internet regulation on societal issues, from loose to restrict. And you can see all these laws passed in the recent years. And just last week, the Chinese Congress passed its personal data protection law, leads to a comprehensive framework for individual data rights and protection. And I don't have time to introduce the context of this law, but you can just see the two running heads of the two American medias. CNBC passed it, saying China passes major data protection law as regulatory scrutiny on tech sector intensifies. And Wall Street Journal, the title is China passes one of the world's strictest data privacy laws. So you can see that the Chinese experience is a gradualist. Right? After the economic booming, right now we need to have more restricted laws on societal issues. And it also highlights the importance of the co-governance. That means the governance cooperated between the state and the complaints. There are two ways of co-governance. The first is indirect. That means the complaints participate in one part of national government's architecture, indirectly becoming a supplier. But even more important is a direct way. That means complaints are now become private governance by creating rules and making decisions in many fields related to public civic rights to form a mixed public-private government structure, which can even spread the domestic laws to global users through the rules of platform enterprises, such as user service agreements. That's why, for a very notable example, the Twitter can just ban Donald Trump. Donald Trump, when he was still a sitting president of the United States, a private company in the United States can make the sitting president shut up. And also, the Twitter can make other presidents shut up too. That is because these big companies already have the political power, very directed political powers. Okay. And in China, we also get examples, but I maybe don't have time to see it. This is a We Country. We Country is a platform invented by Tencent. It's a Chinese leading company. And you can see that the Tencent actually is running more like a village officer to provide basic public service to villagers, including info and knowledge, track down rumors, to provide e-medicines, and all the others. And not only in the countryside, but also in the cities.
I have just 5 more minutes for you. Sorry to interrupt.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and very quickly. Okay. Also for laborers, how these companies can unite laborers online and to provide a very useful app to the laborers to achieve social solidarity, and even more cases, but I don't have time. So what's the risk? The biggest risk is about privacy, but also about civil rights. And the companies need to have shoulder more responsibilities. But the biggest risk is about data trade, and many of us have not realized it. And we also need to pay attention that the emerging situation is now becoming normalized, and it gives us a lot of challenges. And Google and Apple also have similar problems in Africa. I don't have time to talk about Africa. These are all the pictures I took. And what about Africa? Two different meanings. The first one is very negative. You can see from the title, the algorithmic colonialization of Africa. While on the other hand, some people are very positive. I would like to read the sentence. I think it is very important. It is imperative that rather than pushing foreign data policy, privacy policy on Africa, governments are able to customize according to a country's growth stage, enforcement resources, and the cultural context. The argument for gradual data privacy legislation in Africa is clear. The cost threat not only to stifle Africa's innovation, but unquestionably adopting another country's standards might put it at even greater disadvantage. But I don't have an answer for this. This answer is leaves to you. So the final tip ABC again. So algorithm, it depends on the value and version of the government. Big data, public available, complete, fine-grained, timely, machine-readable, structured, useful data. Not all the big data are useful. And the computing power, but the computing power is not about their computers, but the power to realize digital dividends through policy innovation and implication. And that's all. Thank you very much. And if you're interested, you can check our website and shoot me an email if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you so much for that presentation. Very rich, I must say, and a number of lessons for us as South Africa. I would like to go back to the questions. that were raised, and I assume colleagues will have more questions. Tate Vukela, if you are still in the session, Vukela, I noted Katlego and somebody called Table. I will hand over to you to ask your questions, while Lindani and Desiree are fielding the questions for the last presentation. Tate Vukela, are you still in? Katlego and Table? Yes, Tate Vukela, over to you. You can go ahead, sir. Just unmute yourself.
Program Director, can we remind NAPE to give rights to all attendees to unmute themselves?
Okay, thank you for that. NAPE, please do that so that Tate Vukela can ask, make comments or ask questions. NAPE, have you done that?
I'm on it. It should be done, yes.
Okay, Tate Vukela, you can go ahead. Sorry about that.
Program Director, he has done it. Thank you very much again for the wonderful session. I think it's very good to have these kind of sessions in the environment that we are right now. And to all speakers, I find presentation quite informative and interesting. My first question, Program Director, will go to the last presenter right now, Prof, on the China processes. To say, when China was initiating the initiative for digitizing government, first things, what they do in terms of putting together systems which are able to provide platforms for government to provide services and for citizens to engage. So my interest is on the basic things or the fundamental things that China initiated. Because I think as South Africa, we are struggling a bit. We should be honest with ourselves that we do have quite good policies, but we are unable to kickstart the first gear to put government into that platform. So I want to get the lessons learned from China in that regard. The second question goes to my colleagues, my colleague from Cooperative DDM. DDM is a very good program, I must say, because the focus now is toward the districts. One district, one plan. But the question is, if you scan around, all our municipalities are dysfunctional currently. All of them are dysfunctional. We cannot talk proudly on the service delivery in that particular area. So that will affect the manner in which as government we must champion the district model, because for the sole purpose that we must design one plan, of course, to improve service delivery. But as we speak right now, we cannot point to any municipality which is functional. All of them are dysfunctional. So that will let the DDM fail. So what Cooperative is doing, trying to assist in that particular area, of course, it's a challenge, but there must be something that needs to be done to enable DDM to able to work. The last question, Program Director, goes to my colleague Mlindi from this. I think he made a very good presentation and focused in terms of the way forward that is put together. Departments trying to converge other entities in the state to maximize their potential. Now, the question is, Program Director, we need to look at the level of uptake for the product, which is ICT, and secondly, scan the environment in terms of the broadband penetration and the SA Connect. Most of our offices are not connected. Hence, you find this challenge of people queuing day in, day out. If you move out of Pretoria, the focus, of course, for government is Pretoria. There's no shy about that. But the moment you move out of that Pretoria, You go to the extreme rural communities, these things are history. You can't find them. So what are we doing to begin to connect these government offices, which are outside the parameters of constitution of the state? Thank you very much, Chair, and I think I appreciate your manner in which you attend the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ntate Vukela. Thanks for those questions. Yes, you know, a couple of weeks ago we had an engagement with, Pierre will remind me, but they were sharing, I think it was GTech, some preliminary studies on local government. And what you are raising now is quite true. Dysfunctional municipalities, when you want to implement DDM and the, what did that lady call it? The capability of the state or the capability of the municipality is not strong enough to carry these programs. We may end up hitting, you know, another snack in terms of implementation. Actually, that links to what I wanted to ask Dr. Rabotato earlier on, to say, you know, when you presented, I see this was launched in 2019. It's almost 2 years and we are still talking pilot. My question relating to what Ntate Vukela is saying is that, are we stopping other district municipalities or municipalities to be innovative about this? Because from what you said, there's no blueprint of a one plan. My question was that, should we wait for the pilot phase to finish, taking into account to say now it's over 2 years since we launched? We're still not there yet in terms of the pilot phase. Shouldn't we then allow, you know, provinces and others to innovate, to come up with their own one plans without linking it to the master plan? I might be off course, but I think it's very important, because there might be other ways of crafting these one plans that would take up quicker. You know, I know government, we are very slow in moving forward and so forth, but I thought, let me raise the issue about whether we should be waiting for the pilot phase to end before we take it elsewhere, or can we allow, you know, municipalities or district municipalities to be innovative and craft their own plans, one plans, based on the challenges that they are facing. Before you respond, Katlego and Tebo, are you still there? You want to come in? Otherwise, I will hand over. I see there's Mbangi as well. Maybe let me take Mbangi. You can come through.
Thank you. Thank you very much, facilitator, and it's a very interesting presentation all round, especially the professor's presentation. A very quick comment, which is linked to the issues I raised earlier, which I felt that they were not really covered in full. I think the one plan, or the DDM model, was brought, as rightly so, to try to get a seamless process from a planning and execution perspective, save for the time cycles or timelines which are linked to the other overall plans. However, it seems to me that the platform, based on even one of the interventions you've just said, Chair, it might actually be creating a bottleneck, because it's a culmination of various value chains and processes that then are called one plan, which might actually create what one could call euphemistically a traffic jam. If you look at all the other tools, you will find that a lot of activities are taking place, and without mentioning which examples of municipalities, you will find a very small municipality actually with a very heavy load of an IDP that is 400, 500 pages, for example. When you come to Gauteng, you will find that in Johannesburg, maybe the IDP is some 300 odd pages. On top of that, load the other activities that are supposed to be dealt with. So we seem to be caught up in the system and the process itself, rather than be driven by the outcome side and the impact side, which is the service delivery domain. My issue here is to say, as a comment, is to say that the digital environment should be able to unlock or unblock or allow us to streamline even the processes in terms of data and information, for example. So if the focus is on data and information flow, then the process itself in terms of how you actually convey the data and information bottom up, sideways, it doesn't really matter what tool you have, because the focus of the driver will be the flow of data and information that is required to actually provide the service delivery, and for the recipient or beneficiary of the service delivery to actually feel what is actually coming through to them. The focus too much on the DDM in and of itself becomes a problem. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before I give Table a platform, there's an additional question from, I think it's Zolisi, linking to my question. She's asking on the piloting, what will inform the 52-1 plans by March 2022 if we don't have outcomes of the pilot sites? I will hand over to the presenters to come through. Maybe let's start with Dr. Rabotate. As you can see, there's a lot of interest into this DDM, this model. I think that's why we're fielding more questions based on the DDM more than any other areas. Over to you, Dr. Rabotate. Then I think there was a question from Lindy, and then Prof as well. I think Dr. Vukela also asked a question for Prof. In that order, Rabotate, Lindy, and then Prof.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Chair. Let me start with the point that was made around municipalities in South Africa being dysfunctional. I think a correction has to be made there. Not all municipalities in South Africa are dysfunctional. The department just recently produced a document on the review of performance of municipalities. And it has identified a set of municipalities that are dysfunctional. And these municipalities would be assisted working closely with provinces to put together support plans so that their performance across the board improves. So Chair, I thought I should just make a correction there that not all municipalities in South Africa can be regarded as dysfunctional. Of course, they would have challenges here and there, but to say that all of them are dysfunctional would not be a correct statement to make. But the question is, what is to be done to ensure that all municipalities indeed deliver services in an effective, efficient and sustainable manner? As I indicated, there are processes put in place, working with provinces to develop municipal specific support plans so that we broadly stabilize the system of local government in the country. One of the core elements of the district development model is a local government stabilization program, which basically ensures that municipalities are able to deliver as expected so that they make a contribution towards the implementation of the district development model, as it were. So there was also a question about the pilot process vis-a-vis the full rollout of the district development model. I think this is a matter that was partly because of the limited time that we had to make a presentation. The pilot program was launched in 2019. At the beginning of 2021, the department finalized the development of an implementation framework for the full rollout of the district development model. And attached to that implementation framework were a set of implementation tools that were provided to provinces, districts, and metros to initiate a process of developing one plans across the remaining 49 districts and metros. And this process was planned to have concluded by the end of June. And as we speak, a lot of one plans are being finalized, and by the end of this month, we are likely to see more plans being finalized. So the rest of the districts working with province, district and metros working with provinces are hard at work in finalizing these one plans so that their implementation can commence thereafter. Then there was, I think this is a recurring question about poor service delivery in municipalities. As I said, the approach was, let's understand what are the challenges in municipalities. Let's produce a report, which report was presented to Cabinet. Cabinet has issued a directive that let there be municipal specific support plans to improve delivery of services in municipalities and their performance in general. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Mlindi.
Thanks, Chair. I think to the question of Ubudwili in terms of the uptake of ICT as well as the penetration, it's one of the areas that we do see cropping up. That we'll find that in the metro areas, you find that there are bundles and bundles of networks on top of each other. In the area where I stay, you'll find that you see people, these companies digging all over the place. But where I come from, you'll find that I still have got edge on my mobile network, which is like, can give you a speed of 9.6 kilobits per second, which, the modern phones don't even operate on. So it is one of the things that we are prioritizing, where we are looking on the private sector as well to assist us. Because these areas, we can't go on all of them as government, but we are also looking on our entities to see where they can assist us. But in terms of the government offices, yes, we understand that there are a lot of offices that are not connected properly, or some that are connected, they are not connected with the proper broadband, which the broadband, at least we define as a minimum of 10 megabits per second. So some of the things that we are currently doing under the SA Connect program is to address those. But also, I think I need to highlight, colleagues, some of the interventions that we did, especially on some of the metros as well, that were, or some of the districts that were a priority in terms of DDM, the ones, the pilot sites. We did put some connectivity on some of the areas. But where these things become a challenge on our side is that sometimes you find that you commit as a department to say that you will fund this program for 2 years. Then you need, the other departments to carry over in terms of the operational costs and all that. That is where now you'll find that even the schools that were connected, now they were connected. Some are normally connected by USASA, some were connected under this, DDM program when we started as a pilot. But after 2 years, you find that nobody does have the funding to continue with this connectivity. It's one of the things now that we are trying to see the best way of saying that probably we need to look on a model whereby you can have a consolidated ICT budget for the state, which we can probably keep, or maybe National Treasury can reserve it. Because now, as it is, it's one of the areas that we are struggling with. But also, I think I want to add one of the crucial things that normally have an impact on us as well is, you know, that we still have to comply to PFMA. But now when you comply to PFMA, like for instance, now you can't, as a municipality, just it is. That is also a state entity to say that we want a particular service. You need to go to a competitive bid, which is one of the areas that as officials, including National Treasury, we need to go into a discussion of say that as much as we would like to address, you know, the challenges of, you know, PFMA, but there are areas whereby you can say that, you know, if it's a state transacting with another state entity, then what should we do in that? Should also the state entities go to a competitive bid with other state entities? So it's one of the areas that also has got a huge impact in terms of our delivery. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Mlindi. There was a question for Prof, but I think because of the connection, we have lost him. Please, that question can be posted on the chat and we can give you feedback later on via email. At this stage, I'm going to call upon, thanks for all the questions, comments, and to presenters for responding. Kathy, so please do the evaluation for the last presentation before I hand over to Ntate Lindani Mtetwa to close the session for the day. Please remember, we have another session again tomorrow that you don't want to miss. Lindani will provide you with more details about the next session. Kathy, so over to you, and then Lindani, you'll do the closing. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Delegates, I'll now do the evaluation of Prof. Peng's presentation. I will launch it, and then if you can kindly select your answer and remember to press the submit button. I've just launched it. Please rate the contents of Prof. Link's presentation: excellent, good, fair, or poor. Make your selection and press submit. Then also, I'll just quickly go through the rest of the questions for us to evaluate day one of the presentation of the webinar.
Yes, please.
Okay, the next question is being loaded now. What percentage of the information was new to you? So we're talking about the information that you were exposed to during this webinar. There are your options: 100%, 80%, 60%, 40%. The last one is 20%. Kindly make your selection and press submit. See, 36 people have responded, 45. I'll just give it a few seconds again. Okay, remember, if you haven't made your selection, you can still do the poll on your chat. I'll launch the next one. I can use this session's information, which was the session we dealt with today. First option, immediately in 2 to 6 months, in 7 to 12 months, or never. Kindly make your selection and remember to press submit. Thank you very much. I see the responses are coming through. Okay, I'll move on to the next one. We're almost there. To what extent did the session meet your expectation? 100%, 8%, 60, 40, or 20? Kindly make your selection and press submit. Okay, the next question. Would you like to learn more about these topics? First selection, yes. The next one, no. In the event that you select yes, you can also drop us an email at info@cpsi.co.za. One of my colleagues will post that on the chat column. So kindly make your selection and press submit.
Are you done, KG?
There's last two questions, Lydia. Okay, how likely are you to recommend this session to a colleague, with 10 being the most likely to recommend? Kindly make your selection and press the button submit. Okay, I'll do the last question. Please rate your overall experience: excellent, good, fair, or poor. Once again, please make your selection and press submit. Once you are done, if there's any question that you've missed out on, kindly go to the chat and scroll up, and then you can make your selection there. Thank you very much, Lydia. Over to you.
Thank you so much, KG. Mr. Mtetwa, please come in for closing remarks. Thank you.
Good afternoon, colleagues. It's actually not so much as closing remarks. We just want to appreciate and show our gratefulness to the Minister for Public Service and Administration, Ms. Ayanda Dlolo, for her keynote address this morning. And we also are very grateful to the speakers, Mr. Rabotata, Mr. Mosholohu, and Professor Peng from China, who gave us very detailed speeches and presentation on our topic today. We thank the program director, our acting ED, Ms. Sebokedi, for program directing this morning. We also thank the CPSI team who have been working very hard at the background. But most of all, we would like to thank you for attending the webinar. We do have the second part of the webinar tomorrow, which will start at 10. Please remember to join us then at 10 o'clock tomorrow for the second webinar that we will have. Please remember also to register for our design thinking and public sector innovation training workshop. I've posted the details of the email which for the person which you can contact, Ms. Ratliso Hamilton. And also remember to enter our Public Sector Innovation Awards 2021 with the closing date on the 17th of September. We are hoping to see all of you tomorrow, where our focus will be more on demonstrating and showcasing innovative solutions that have been implemented in the public sector and are really improving public service delivery within the country. Thank you very much. Please enjoy the lunch. Unfortunately, you are too far. I can't offer you the lunch.
Thank you, colleagues. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your lunch. It's unfortunate that we can't give you lunch. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow at 10 o'clock, and bye-bye.
Thank you, both you, and bye.
Thank you, and bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Mostly.
Sheesh.